Good morning, Mr. Stillhead. Shout out to you. Good to see the NCO showing up first, setting a good example for the warband. Good morning, Mike. Mr. Mike here. There we go. We're back. Well, this was very unexpected. We were told by the weatherman that it was going to warm up and we would see rain, and we woke up to 3 inches of fresh snow and snowing heavy right now. Yes. Interesting you should say that. So speaking of the Forest Service, so my son Jack has been wildland firefighting for a couple seasons. So he does that in the summertime to help pay for his college. So he was going to get on with the U.S. Forest Service here locally on a Type 6 engine. But now that they're having all these federal job cuts, I told him, you better look for something else that might not be there, might not be available come this summer. Good morning, Lucky Logger. And Andrew, good to see you here. Yeah, I know. That's very funny. It's very true. This is a notoriously difficult place to predict the weather, when you're in the mountains. It's not like Central Texas where you can know a storm is coming from miles away. We have all sorts of mountain ranges and a bazillion different microclimates that affect the weather, I think. Gorges, mountains, volcanoes. Good morning, lever action Larry. Ooh, we got some old heavy snow this morning. We're running full power today. It goes well. Thank you, update. Snowblowers are fun until they clog up. Good morning, Mr. Kendall. Goodness, honk the horn. Coming in for the first, Mr. Josh C. Shout out to you, Josh. Thank you for your generosity. Josh says, looks like that hydraulic line got fixed. It sure did. I'll be dropping the second part of that today, this morning. As soon as I get, actually, I've got to edit the video, but I'll have that done in about an hour, and I'll put that up. But boy, that was a chore. It was easy and hard. If that makes sense. But I'm hoping. I know that was it, but I'm hoping that I've got all the fittings tightened up. So we're running it hard right now. We'll double check. If we've got some red hydraulic fluid in the snow, we'll know. Only one trip to the parts store. Yeah, I had to go in to Caterpillar. They made me up a brand new 12-foot hydraulic hose. $227 plus hydraulic fluid. Looks like we got about 4 inches on the ground, if I had to guess. It must have snowed all night. We were not expecting it to snow. Boy, everybody's out with their plows. See, my neighbor's getting after it there. Yeah, well, my hydraulic problem, it was a hydraulic line. It's the high pressure line that feeds the snowblower. that runs up to the quick attach, the flat face coupler up on the front. And that, right where it curved around the linchpin of the loader, it was, the outer sheath was all blistered up, and when I poked on it a little bit, fluid came out. So I'm like, oh, there it is. That's why it was running down and dripping all over the machine and making a mess. So I got that hose out, had a brand new hose made, and she should be fixed now. Good morning, Niels, sir. Good morning, Larry. Oh, that's for sure. Gold and silver, that's so true. There's always. But what else are you going to do, right? Guys that retire and sit down and retire, that's the fast way, that's a fast-paced way to be in the grave, in the coffin. You gotta have a purpose. Having land will give you a purpose. Man, I was so excited to hear that there's a conversation in Washington about banning sales tax. Sales tax is property tax, sorry, is the biggest scam. It basically makes you a serf of the state. No matter how hard you work to pay for your land, get your house and land all free and clear, if you don't pay the tax man, those property taxes, they'll take it from you, steal it from you. And there's actually serious talk on the Hill of banning that. So when you own something, when you pay off your home, your land, it's untouchable. No state, no Fed can come after you own. If you want to squat on that, sit on that, it would just be tremendous. Can you imagine that? I think it's a terrible crime against God and human rights to have a property tax where you can never own your land and have to always be a tenant of the state. It is absolutely deplorable. That would be an amazing. If President Trump got that banned and that was all that he got accomplished, I would consider it a great victory, his presidency. Goodness, we have a super chat from our beloved Mr. Overton Windex. Good to see you here, Overton. Overton says, I'm almost certain you know exactly what this is. Do you have any thoughts on the Cali E Adventure full kit? Oh my goodness. I'm ashamed, Overton. I do not know what that is. I have no idea. Can you explain it to me like you would to a 5-year-old? And thank you for that super chat. I don't know about this. I do know that we have a moto ride this summer that Overton is sponsoring in Montana that I'll be traveling to. I have not posted the van yet. I'm waiting for the snow to... People won't drive up here because the roads are so bad, so I'm waiting for the snow to melt. Oh, the Carly? Yeah. You know, I considered that that company. What's the name of it? Carly Suspension. Yeah, Carly does kind of turnkey suspension kits for, I think, for all major brands of pickup. But they, rather than just buying some cheapo lift kit that hasn't really done a lot of testing, Carly kind of really sources things out and custom tailors suspension for your truck and a lot, so you know what you're going to get. So I really considered it. I would have probably went with Carly Suspension if I hadn't had a local guy, kind of an expert that was easy to use, and I just went with him. But I think I haven't followed it since I did mine, but I know it was really good stuff back 4 or 5 years, or 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was. I'm going to widen this out a little bit. I would imagine with a 5.5-inch lift on a Super Duty, you can run what? Big tires, 38s without rubbing? I don't know, probably. If I was going to do another truck, or the next truck, I will strongly consider buying an F450 or a F550, a dually. I think they all come dual wheeled. And then I would take it to Buck Stop and have them do the super single kit, where they convert the 450s and 550s to they take the dualies off. And with like almost no lift, they cut out the fenders, they do front fender flares that look really cool, but with just like a minimal lift, they run those great big Continental military tires on them. And they're super, super cool. And I begged them when I was there when we were doing my bumper if they would come up with a kit for the 1-tons, a super single kit, but they don't. They only do it for the 450s and 550s. But if you want to see the coolest truck you can buy is the Buck Stop. Go look up Buck Stop Super Single. Oh, we're in the gravel. Good grief. I don't know how all this gravel can be on a paved driveway. It's one of the mysteries of life. Yeah, those trucks are really something. I got to go to the factory and really look under the hood. My truck was there for several hours, so I got to see all of the production and all the parts, and it's very impressive. They do excellent work. Buck Stop is a great company. They're in Prineville, Oregon. They're the ones that made my front bumper. Yeah, the bumper you want, Dr. Prepper, is you want the Buck Stop. And you could go with steel or aluminum. I went with the aluminum, but the aluminum is like 3/8 thick. Or half, or some crazy thing. And I've got, that way it's lightweight. Because if you're going to be hanging a steel bumper out on the front of your truck with a big winch, like I've got the big 16,000 pounder, that's a ton of weight, fog lights and all that. So by going with the aluminum, you don't have to compensate for that. But also you might want to consider my truck came with the snowplow factory setup for a snowplow on the front, which gives it heavier duty. I guess it doesn't really matter because I cut all that out and put the Kings on. But I don't know if you have heavier duty tie rods or ball joints or if it's just the springs. But if you're going to order a new truck and put a big heavy bunch of weight on the front, that's a good idea to do that. When I had the front King suspension done, we took that into account when we were figuring the spring rate for the coilovers. All right, that looks pretty. Oh, let's go get our mailbox real quick. Forgot that. Speaking of mailbox, I've got to fix my mailbox. The snowplow knocked it over again. I've got a breakaway piece when I designed it to break so that the post in the mailbox didn't get ruined. And I used Douglas fir, but I don't think it's strong enough. Maybe what I need to do is to get a piece of hardwood, East Coast man's wood, and see if that holds on a little better. That'll probably break the post though. Shout out to Mr. Overton Windex. Overton says, you lose the 7.3 and the dual alternator on the F450. Did you get a new truck? Yeah, the F450, that's the cool way to go. I wish I would have went with the F450 for that super single kit. But the diesel, I can't get with the diesel. Did you put the diesel or the gas? I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what's going on. I'm reading between the lines and I'm guessing maybe Overton got a new pickup. Send us a picture if you did. Dual alternators is the thing for sure. Yeah, 7.3 liter, that's my favorite engine. I would consider a diesel only when the EPA gets rid of all of that DEF fluid and all that emission nonsense. But until then, no way. I like diesel. I'm not against it. There's something about diesel that's really special. Like to fire up the diesel on the skid steer in the morning and watching the thing sitting there and purring, it does definitely give me the fizz. I was with a guy on that was in our strike team on Hurricane Helene that had a Duramax, and he had the nice exhaust on it, and the whistling from the turbo or whatever it was absolutely delightful. I would like to have that. Goodness, shout out to Shallow Creek Farm. We have a super chat. Goodness. Best all-around saw for Proho in East Tennessee and why? The best all-around saw, I think, is the 500i. The Stihl 500i. I got to run Bear Independence. I got to run his over there, and I fell in love with that saw. It just blows everything away. When I think back on that saw, it's very light, it's very powerful, and it's very crispy, meaning that there's no lag, and that's what fuel injection really gives you. I noticed that on dirt bikes as well, is when you crack the throttle, it's imperceptible, but there's just a little bit of a lag before the power is delivered, like a delay. With fuel injection, the moment you hit that throttle or that trigger on that saw, it just zing, zing, zing. It is such a beautiful saw. That's the only saw that you need right there. Just get one of those. Full-on Pro Saw 500i. Goodness, so you get real, man. That's the best. I wish I had one. Mrs. W and I are on our no-spend year, though, so there will not be a 500i in my future. Unless, of course, my 462 blows up, then that would fall under need, not want. I don't know what that means, Trevor. I don't know, maybe I'm a little slow today, but I'm not reading between the lines on some of these cryptic texts or comments. Overton, hold on, I missed something. Let me back up here. And welcome, Mark of Excellence. Well, our newest member, get a honk for that. Oh, here we go. Sorry, we got a super chat from Mr. Overton. I missed that. Sorry about that, Luke. Luke says it's shipped, not here yet. So it's a 25 F350 SRW. What's that stand for? Short SRW in Avalanche. Avalanche. Is that the color? Is that white? Well, that sounds like a nice truck. I don't know what what is SRW? Is that a trim package? 25, man, what a beautiful truck. I've been seeing the 25s. There's a couple guys in town that have them, and I love the look of them. They have a really nice front end, and what's really cool about those is that the step in the side of the bed, man, that is, the trucks are getting so big now, it's hard to get in the back. And when you want to, a truck used to be able to walk up alongside of it, reach in and grab something, but not anymore. Single rear wheel, thank you, got it. Yeah, same truck as mine then, but a 25. My truck is just about to turn over 60,000 miles, and it's been very well cared for. I change the oil every 5,000 miles with AMSOIL synthetic. Drive it like a grandpa. So I don't see a new truck in my future anytime. But it's kind of a bummer to get a new truck too, especially when you get it all customized the way you like. Well, first world problems, right? Now you got to redo the suspension. Your front bumper doesn't fit. All that stuff. So, and I tend to keep stuff for a long time. Mostly because I just can't. One of the worst things in the world is selling a used car or a used item. I do not have weather wool. I've not heard of that. An avalanche, man. That's a nice sound. Not nice sounding color, isn't it? A man who lives in the mountains, that's the color that he should have, is avalanche. Uh-oh, did we just clog up? Sometimes I can shake it out. Now, Rockstar fan, you are completely out of line, and I would censure you if you were a member. Basically saying what type of an idiot or what type of a fool would spend $75,000 on a new truck. It's probably not $75,000, it's probably closer to $90,000. And first off, why would you call someone that wants to buy a truck or has elevated his position in life where he can go and buy a new truck maybe the first time in his life? He's excited about it. It's a big deal. It's a milestone in a man's life. And some loser comes in here and says, I'm smarter than you because I would never buy a brand new truck. Well, I don't care what you would buy. Maybe you can't buy it. You know, it's funny, the guy that would say, oh, you're a fool for buying a new truck is typically the guy that's never got ahead and never be able to buy a new truck. So that really rubs me the wrong way. I'm proud of Luke that he was able to overcome what he's had. You have no idea what this man's overcome to be where he's at right now. And he's built his business and he's built his YouTube channel, and now he can start to reap the rewards of all of his hard work and his creativity. And rather than say, good job, Luke, we're proud of you, and to be able to enjoy the experience with him, some low-life dirtbag has got to come in and try to tear it down to make himself look better or to compensate for his failures. So I, for one, put sevens in the chat if you're happy for Luke, if you're proud of Luke for what he's overcome, and those of us that know him know exactly what that means, and we should celebrate it and not have these low-lifes coming in here. It's just shameful. So shout out to Luke, and whoever that other guy was, shame on you. You are a bad man. And certainly not pro-ho. Look it up. It's like this snow is so wet that we're basically pumping water. You can tell who's not pro-ho by the comments that they make. No, you can never take too much time to roast an idiot. And I'm not mad. This is just for entertainment. Yeah, our snow blowing might be done. I don't think. I think we're all clogged up. We might have to get the snow plow. I'm very proud of Luke for Oh yeah, we're totally jammed. That's it, gentlemen. Look at the water. Look how wet it is. Oh my goodness, this is not fit for man nor beast. Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in, grab my laptop. I'm gonna post the next part of yesterday's video while having a cup of coffee. Get that up for you guys, and then maybe we'll warm up the Yanmar there and do the water squeegee off the driveway. Goodness, we have a super chat from Hobby Patrick. Shout out to you, Hobby. Hobby says, oh goodness, I almost lost my rig. Shout out to Radio Made Easy. This is our friend Evan, the official radio man of the war band. The new digital radios are awesome. I bought the analog radios, but the range didn't work for me. So happy now. Yeah, I've been using we've exclusively went over to the digital radios as well. What I like about the digital radios is that the range is so much better, and that the signal is always, for me, it's pretty much always audible. I'm pretty excited. Mr. Jiraiya, while I was in Mexico, got the man pack all programmed. He worked with Evan, and they got all, so it matches up the radio. So I'm really excited this summer to do some field testing on that. We have the big antenna at the base station now, so we have a digital base radio right here in the shop. We've got the digital base radio that's the man pack that will go in my truck or any other piece of equipment. It'll be portable. But those are very powerful. I think they're like 5 watts or 10 watts. And now those are all talking to and have the same programming as our handhelds. So we actually have a pretty robust radio system now, thanks to Evan. And we really worked those digital radios hard on the Hurricane Helene. Mr. Brian and I took our digital radios, and I had them out. I worked with them all day long, dropped it out of my pocket a dozen times or so, lost it in the woods one time, found it. They're great radios. Yeah, shout out to Evan. The range, you set the range on the radios, and this is true for pretty much all radios that I'm aware of. It really depends on the topography. If you're like in Kansas and you have line of sight, those radios are going to go a long ways. I don't know, maybe the big ones like a man pack is going to be, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 miles. Could be further. I pick up, it depends on the antenna too. I pick up radio communications on sometimes all the way from like Vancouver, Washington, which is, over hour and a half away. But we're also sitting up high on the mountain. Whereas you get into mountain terrain where you've got peaks and valleys, then they don't work so well. If you got a peak and you're down here in the river, the drainage, and your buddy's on the other side of the drainage, those signals are not going to go over and communicate very well. You almost have to have line of sight. So then it's going to be really shortened. So what's done is you have a guy up on the peak where you relay messages to him, or you can put up what's called a repeater, a mobile repeater that runs off batteries, or it can run off of a solar panel. And that's kind of the next evolution, is to get, what I would like to have is to get a couple, 1 or 2 mobile repeaters that you could put in like a Pelican case or a Nana case. And if you need that extra range, to be able to set that up there, hang that up in a tree, hit that repeater, and then that would really solve a lot of problems. Too wet to snow blow. Back it into the barn. Slush stream. Now that, we have the name for the slush stream. I love that. That's perfect. Safely in the barn once again. Shut it down here. Kansas perfectly flat. 2 6-foot dudes. You can get around 13 to 16 miles before the curve of the cube Earth is. Yes, so Overton, he's got more experience over there. The cube of the flat Earth. Yes, the flat Earth definitely. The fact that we live in a flat Earth definitely helps the radio communications. But Overton's, he's had a lot more experience with those radios than I have. He had the original ones, and he's saying 13 to 16 miles. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm not surprised. We have a super chat. Can I honk the horn? Shout out to you, Mr. Sam Kerrigan. Kerrigan. Thank you, Sam. Sam Kerrigan writes, when you were first uploading radio content, I admitted I wasn't too excited. Although now that I bought my first Baofeng, I've been going back and forth watching them religiously. Yeah, I was the same way. And I think it's hard to get interested in, for me, in things that I don't understand, which is a lot of things. And the radio stuff, man, it was so confusing. And I don't think it was helped at all. Like as a newbie years ago, I had an interest in radios, and I actually went and I bought a small handheld Baofeng. I must have been like 18 or 19. And so I bought the Baofeng, and, you know, I'm a petulant child, and I'm never one to read instructions or seek instruction from people who know things. I always think that I know everything. So they all just figure it out. And, you know, radio nerds are a particular type of nerd, and they speak a language that Proho does not understand. So I finally just figured out how to scan frequencies, and this was in the early days, so it was kind of fun. This is when cell phones were just barely coming online, and this radio had the ability to pick up the conversation on the cell towers before they locked all that down and made it secret. I wish I still had it today. And it was no end of fun. While I was working, I was doing excavating, and I would just sit it in the cab and listen to men calling their wives, and it was just random phone calls. It was like the best show on earth. It was amazing. But then I figured if I want to use this thing, I have to, because I was already into CBs, I have to get a ham license. And I looked into ham license, and it was just the gatekeeping from the ham operators. You know, of all people in the world, among the worst you'll find is in the ham community. Now, not all, but too many of them. During Hurricane Helene, here's an example. These wretched old boomers, these ham radio gatekeepers, we're so concerned about not having the right permits and not having the right license to be using the repeaters that they were actually chastising flood victims that didn't understand it, that were trying to get communication, trying to get the word out that they were in need of help. And these ham operators, these gatekeepers, actually were on there chastising them and reporting them and telling them that they're going to be in big trouble if they don't get off this repeater, instead of jumping in and helping. Now, some of the ham radio operators did incredible work there. That's the white hats. I guess you have the white hats and you have the black hats. But, you know, I tell you, arborists, East Coast men, ham operators, there are a few that escape my mind right now, are among the basest of men. I'll tell you, goodness. Shameful. So I never did get into it. So, and to modern times, when I realized after working with wildland fire, I'm like, oh, radios are essential. It's one of the most important things. And then you watch all the gun tubers and the ex-military guys, and they say the same thing, man. Communication. So you know you've got to do it. Then you get into the Baofengs, and the menu is not intuitive. And then you run up against the gatekeepers on YouTube, and pretty soon you're like, I don't even know where to start. UHF, VHF, what is this? Digital, analog, encrypted, who knows? But now, thanks to Radio Made Easy and Evan, I have a very, very basic understanding of some of it, enough to turn on my radio and talk to my friends. So thank you. Shout out to Evan for that. Shout out to Yukon coming in with the super chat. Thank you, beloved. Yukon says, radio nerds, sad hams, are very annoying. The only radio nerd I like is Evan Dixon. Yeah, exactly. He is a great dude. I really hope that Evan and family can come on out again. They visited us last year. Come on out and stay in our cabin and put on a radio class for the war band. Yeah. Antenna makes a big difference. Yeah. Mr. Mr. Evan hooked Jiraiya, my manservant, Jiraiya and I up with these super skookum Japanese antennas for our truck. And so I put that on there. And so now I've got the cable RAN in there, and I'll hook that up to my scanner or my radio. I can use either one if I want to have extra power and range. And I love the scanner feature. It's funny, so we you can pick up. I had my scanner on the other day, and I was stopped at a long line at a highway where they'd closed down the road. And I'm looking around. I've got a log truck in front of me, and I can't see what's going on. But my scanner picks up the two-way communication between the guys that are directing the traffic. It's just one of those little funny little things that you're like, oh, this is cool to have. I have a little bit of inside knowledge. I can hear what's going on. I can get myself ready. I know when the road's going to open up. So I thought that was quite something. Mr. Overton coming in with a super chat. Oh, shout out to you. He says, Wranglerstar, if you got a minute soon in the next week or so, I got a business question for you. Okay, yeah. Just send me an email and give me or whatever you want to do, or if we can do a phone call, what have you. Marginal. Don't. I got to manage your expectations. Marginal advice. That's how we go around here. We can certainly do that. Do you need to have a license to have a scanner? I don't think so. Nope, I don't think so. You don't have to have a license to even have any of these radios. If you wanted, as far as I understand, again, don't quote me on this, ask Evan. He can tell you. But I believe even if you have a ham radio that you don't have a license for, I think you're entirely within your rights to scan and to listen in and monitor. And that's the other thing nice about the digital radios and the digital scanners is that opens up the whole new world. A lot of your metropolitan departments have went over to digital radios, and the analog radios like the Baofangs, they cannot pick that up. So all you'll hear is just a bunch of jarbled nonsense. With the digital radios, you can listen in on all that. And that's really is the point of it, is you want to listen to emergency services. What am I beef with arborists? Oh, well, it's just all for fun, right? It's not real. It's, they put on airs. I think what it is I think that arborists have a chip on their shoulder. They're like urban loggers. They're not real loggers, but they put on airs like they are real loggers, that they can enter into the space with the logger and they're just the same, I do what you do, but it's not the same. And they, I don't know, I think that's what it is. And they overcompensate. They're like a CrossFitter in some ways. They overcompensate. I think that they're just jealous of real Pacific Northwest mountain man loggers, and they try to come off as one, but they fail because they're not. I don't know. The reason, I guess, it's after years and years and years of being online and fielding hundreds of millions of comments, you get kind of a feel for a particular vocation of how they respond, and it starts to build a little resentment, where you start to dislike this type of person that's in this vocation, and that just always bubbles up to the top is the arborist because of their nastiness and their elitism. But I don't really. I think arborist is pretty cool job. Just know your place. Stay in your lane. Did I miss a super chat from Jay Olson? Shout out to you, Jay. Thank you very much. Jay says the adventure van would make a good warband mobile command post. Yeah, kind of. Dude, it's still a transit van, and it is always going to be limited with transit van suspension. So, I've done everything that could be done with it. Bilsteins and four-wheel drive conversion. But it's still, it's a bit of a pavement queen. So maybe a little bit of plow, a little bit of snow, some gravel roads, but it doesn't have the capabilities of a pickup. I think the better mobile command post is going to be the F450 with the super single conversion. That's going to be the way to go. Now you've got a proper truck, it's going to, let's say you start with the 550. The 550 is going to have just massive axles, massive brakes, massive everything. Rip out the suspension, do the super single kit, upgrade all that stuff, do just a minimal lift with coilovers. You know, maybe, I don't even think you have to do a lift with the super single kit. I think you can run factory geometry. So now you're not stressing your drive shafts. Now you're not stressing your ball joints, all of the things that come with the foolishness of lifting these trucks. But you're running these these big Continental tires. They're huge. They're like almost 40-inch, and they fit underneath there in the super. Go look it up. Go look up the super single kit. Now you've got, lock up those differentials, order the factory locking differential from the front. From the back. Mine has that. I don't know if you can get them from the factory with the front. Put an air locker, ARB, aux, whatever, True Track, Eaton in the front. Change the gear ratios, because now you're going to be slinging those 39, 40-inch tires. You know, change your gear ratios up to, I don't know what. We're going to want on those, like 48s or something like that, so you can get your speedometer back. And put the buck stop winch on the front. Buck stop bumper and full protection on the front. Pull out the fuel tank, put in the big, there's an aftermarket company for the diesels now that makes a big, like a 90-gallon tank that fits all up in the factory spot, which is super cool. So you got almost 100 gallons of fuel up underneath of it. What else am I going to do to that? Put a radio in it. Good lighting. Coilovers, locking differentials. Throw in ARB, air compressor, onboard air. And you're set, man. A hitch, good hitch. Class 5 hitch. Yeah, there's the rig right there. And order it in an avalanche color. The S&B tanks they're not that big, 68 gallons for a short bed. I thought that they were closer to over 70, but I'm not sure. My truck has a single tank, and it was ordered with the biggest tank I think you can get from Ford, and it's like 50 gallons. It's tremendous. When I go to the gas station, if it's dry, if I go to the gas station and fill up, I get a comment by pretty much every gas attendant, because in Oregon, people come out and pump your gas for you. A comment of, wow, that's the biggest gas bill I've ever seen, or that's the biggest tank. How can you take so much fuel on that? It's got a huge tank in it. I think it's close to 50 gallons. Yeah, the flatbed. I would consider a flatbed or some sort of a utility bed, and I would have a really good system in the truck for the super single to be able to fork up different capabilities. Exactly. A fire skid with that F550, I could easily, check this out, I could easily, I think. I'd have to run the numbers on it, but I'll bet you could haul close to 500 gallons of water on the back of that. 300 for sure. For sure. So now you've got, let's be conservative, 400-gallon tank with a full fire skid. You just sit that up there on the forklift, wiggle it around a little bit, have some hard points where you tie it down, bind it down. Man, that would be fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, I would definitely consider a utility bed. You could haul snow bikes up there, have some clever ramps, lots of stuff, cool stuff. Is it proho to let another man pump your fuel? Yes. Yes, of course it is. Yes. Sometimes it's a woman. I don't appreciate your tone. I don't know that you should be sexist. Why would you imply that our women are not powerful and strong enough to pull the pump lever? You know, we don't like that sort of misogyny here in the group. I missed a super chat. Oh goodness, God forbid. Mr. Overton, even warned me I'm not paying attention. Let me back up. Good grief. I apologize, gentlemen. Okay, got the adventure van. I'm scanning here. We have Adam stuff. It's back. Kyle B. I think you need to go back farther. Kyle, hang on. You will be made whole here. Oh, I don't see it. Oh, there he is. Shout out to you, Kyle. I'm going to give you a double honk for my dereliction here. I'm trying my hardest To not lust after a new vehicle. I currently own 2 broke down vehicles. Pray for me, brother. Yes, I know. I know. I know. I get it. Thank you for that. Well, when it comes to new vehicles, here's my take on it. If you can't afford to go and buy it, now I'm going to exclude guys that have businesses. If you have businesses, sometimes there's some advantages in renting or buying or leasing because of tax implications. But I'm just talking just normal proho guy. If you can't afford to go buy your pickup and just pay for it, then don't do it. Man, getting on 60-month plan of payments with high interest rates, and that's rough. I've done that before. I made that mistake, and I wouldn't recommend it. So if you want a new pickup, put that in your vision quest, and just start working towards that and up your game and get to the point where you can do it. And that would be a great accomplishment. Goodness. Yeah, Idaho is asking about, does Oregon still have that silly law where you can't pump your own gas? Yes and no. They seem to be relaxing it a little bit. I think the oil lobby, the big companies are very much dislike this, because now they have to staff gas stations, and they've cried out, and they've probably lobbied the politicians to like make this go away. Because I notice in rural areas, that's not always the case. Now you can get out and pump your own gas, so there seems to be some exclusions, and I don't know if what it is, but they're chipping away at it. I think that it's not long for this world, but it's just we were just one of the last holdouts of the last states that could pump. People would come out and pump your gas for you, and I don't know. We just kind of clung to that because it made us unique. I don't really care. I usually go to my local card lock station, and I just always pump my own anyway, or pump it here myself out of my own tank. Or Justin says Oregon is self-serve now. Last year or two, most stations divided their pumps between self-serve and full service. Yeah, I noticed. I did notice the trend was going that way, but I didn't know if that was law or not. Tacoma or Tundra for the first truck. Depends on what you need to do. They're both good trucks. Take a look. I know Toyota's had some real problems with their engines. I think it's their big engine on their Tundra. It's got metal shavings in it, and they're having a lot of problems. Now, I think it was, I don't even know that Toyota came out and admitted it, but it was actually some TikTokers or YouTubers, these guys that do car stuff that actually broke into these engines to find out why are these Toyota engines failing catastrophically so quickly. And what they found, memory serves, is they found machining or metal shavings inside. And that was getting into the bearings and nuking or grenading the engines. I have heard, I kind of follow a lot of automotive YouTubers because I was in that business for a while. Apparently, Toyota is doing the right thing and stepping up and honoring this by giving full new engine replacements to these trucks. And not a long block or a short block, but a complete engine with all of the peripherals on it, which is astounding. So that's all being covered under warranty. Everyone's had their problems post-COVID. I would never, ever, ever buy a Dodge truck or a Jeep product right now. They are terrible, terrible. Ford has got all sorts of problems as well, terrible problems, as well as General Motors. They're all awful. Toyota, catastrophic engine problems. So you're in a tough spot. Either one, you buy a used pickup that's been taken care of, low miles, that was built before COVID. Mine was built just before COVID, so I think I've got a good truck. Or get a Toyota. I think that they'll get that worked out. Tundra, if you've got the money for the gas and you need the payload, and you don't want to look like a child, then get the Tundra. If you're a younger person, you don't have a bunch of payload, maybe you live in an urban area, you don't want to park a big monstrosity. That's all these things you need to take in consideration. Then, and you don't mind looking like a child, then get the Tundra. It's or the Tacoma. There's a place for both of them. Mrs. W's got what's her truck? She's got a Toyota 4Runner TRD. It was also built before COVID. You know, at the high water mark of Toyota, or among them. Modern time high work, I guess. Modern high water mark. Her truck's got, what, 60,000 miles or so on it, and I thought about, well, should we sell that and get something different? And I look around, you know, what am I going to find that's better? And the only thing I would really consider would be a new 4Runner, and you know, there's just not that much difference. I mean, the only thing we'd really be gaining would be to have a little bit better sat-nav system. I don't know. Toyota's got a proprietary sat-nav system that is unusable. It's terrible. It would be easier for you to learn Mandarin and Japanese than it would be to try to figure out how to use the sat-nav system, the audio navigation system on the Toyota products. Oh my goodness. I have a friend that's in the same dilemma. He's got a Tacoma. And he's like, I want to upgrade because I'd like to have Apple CarPlay, or I'd like to have a modern, you know, I would like to not have the proprietary Toyota system. And he found a company that replaced his center screen. And now that he can plug into his phone and get CarPlay, it looks really nice. All factory all factory parts, and it looks super skookum. It's not factory, but that's really the only reason you would change. Apart from the engine in the 4Runner is dreadful as well. It's the most miserable, underpowered thing. It is terrible. I don't even drive. I can't even stand to drive her car. One, I feel like at 6'4", I feel like I'm in a little go-kart, like I'm in a child's car. And I can't see the stoplight, so I have to do this to see up when the light turns red. And then the underpowered engine where I keep pressing on the accelerator, waiting for it to do something, and it never does. I guess I'm used to my truck. The 7.3 just has such great power. Underpowered engines, always underpowered. But that's what they do. I think Toyota is. If I was going to buy a new truck, I would either buy a new Toyota Tundra, but I can't buy a Toyota. I need a big truck. I've always driven white Ford F-Series pickups, and I'm not about to change now. What do you think about the ASV skid steer? I don't know anything about them. What I do know, and this may not apply to you or not, I do know that my neighbor buys some off-brand equipment because they're always buying stuff at the auction. And if something comes through the auction, i.e. a backhoe, a skid steer, a mini hoe, that is an off-brand that you have to go and Google to see where it's from, you're going to have problems because you're buying a used machine that someone has used up, and now it's starting to break down and to have problems and need repairs and constantly. And so now you're really leaning heavily upon your service, your parts supplier. And they don't have those ASV parts around here. My neighbor's got things that sit, and he's got stuff he's got to order from England because he bought a JCB or something. The local guys that do hydraulic hoses, they can't make them because they have some oddball, some stupid British thing going on. So I guess know what you're getting into. Do you have a dealer? Can you get parts? That's why I buy Caterpillar, because Caterpillar is famous for having a worldwide parts network. And they're so pervasive, and all guys are going to know how to work on them. They're going to be familiar with them. You can go down to Napa. They're going to have the fittings to repair the hose. It's going to be simple. It's going to be easy. Kubota would be another one I would consider because we have a really good Kubota dealer, and we have more Kubota tractors here than anywhere because of all the orchards. And the orchards, they all use Kubota because of the dealer. So Cat and Kubota is king here in the valley. So consider that. Calby, will I be able to make my 9.0 Proho rating if I purchase a Subaru Outback? That's a tough one, man. You know, you can. It's all going to depend on your personal riz, I guess. Subarus, that's a hard one to pull off. If you were to be, like online dating, or you will roll up and you're trying to set a strong masculine frame, man, that's tough to do. Not everybody can pull that one off. Also, I don't know about your area, but Subarus are the car of choice of our Lily Lint lickers, as I'll put it. To quote, I stole that from Coach Greg Adams. Lily Lint lickers love Subaru, so you have that to overcome as well. And then there's the transmission, but it also can show that this man has good sense. If you live in an area that gets a lot of snow, and Subaru's got a cool history too. I don't know, man. That's really a tough one. I'm of two minds on that. The car, there's nothing wrong with the car. It all depends if you can pull it off or not. See, not everyone can wear a straw hat with big feminine flowers painted all on the side. Some people can, right? So I guess it kind of comes down to that. So I would say that it depends. It's going to depend on you if you can pull it off. But the car, it could be okay or it could not be. What does it say about driving a Nissan Titan truck? It says that you're probably a poor. It's like someone that would have someone that has an Android phone. It's like, oh, it's always a little bit of a disappointment. It's kind of a mark of, I mean, maybe it's kind of a mark of things maybe didn't turn out as well for you as in life as you had hoped. So that's kind of what it says, I think. Yeah, Dr. Prepper, college, you can pull off a Subaru for sure. Or if you're going to drive and restore like an old Subaru, like if someone were rolling around in like a Subaru Brat or one of the old ones, they've always been four-wheel drive. That's super cool. You could definitely pull that off. Or a college student. Adam and Stuff says, or during your experimental phase. Now I don't know about experimental phase. This is something that I've heard lately. It seems that it's okay while in college to go down low, just to try it out. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're. I can't get with that. We had none of that growing up. No, I can't get with that. No, there is no John Deere here. John Deere doesn't have a dealership, and farmers are not happy with the controls that they put on the John Deere, meaning that you can't work on them yourself, and they won't allow the software or the code readers to be. You can't, if you're a independent mechanic, you can't access it. So they're forcing their buyers to take the equipment to the dealer, or have a factory authorized dealer service it, which is just deplorable, and it sits wrong with me and a lot of people. So that's something that if you have the ear of the president, if you could rattle his cage and bring that in front of him, that he needs to go and to take the stick to John Deere and make them stop that. That needs to be open source, and guys need to be able to work on their own equipment. Yeah, the old Subaru Brats were really cool. I had an uncle that was kind of an alternative guy. He was in the Christian cult that I grew up in, but he was a little bit of a rebel and did his own thing. And I was always that way, so I kind of admired him. And he had two of those little Subaru Brats. This is when no one had ever heard of a Subaru before. This would have been like in the 80s. So it was very unusual. And it was a little car, and it was a little pickup. And it was so fun because you could sit in the back, and it had two rear-facing seats in it, and they had handle grips that you could hold on to, like handlebars that stuck up, and you could brace yourself. It was the coolest thing. All four-wheel drive. I liked them. Yeah, the snow blowing is all done. It got too wet, and my snowblower got clogged up. Single cab versus extended cab. Yeah, the only truck to get is the extended cab, unless you're a tradesman. Maybe if I was a tradesman, even if I was a tradesman, I would get an extra cab, not with the little doors, if they still make those. Maybe they don't make those anymore. But no, you have to have a crew cab, especially if you have a family. My truck seats 5, we have 5 in it all the time. And I love to drive. I want to drive. I don't want to take my wife's car. If I want to take a couple out to double date with someone or take a couple out to dinner. So the crew is definitely the way to go. It's awesome. Shout out to John F. coming in with a super chat. Thank you, John, for your generosity. John says, I jumped on to thank you. I came across your channel a couple years ago while I was undergoing chemotherapy. Cancer-free now. Congratulations. And found your videos to be genuine and enjoyable to watch. Thank you very much. I sure appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Well, we parked. We brought the snowblower in the barn. The temperature warmed up and it's clogging up. So that's it. I'm not going to get out. Once it clogs up, then I know it's too wet. Yes. All right. I'm going to shut it down, gentlemen. I got to go get that video up, go grab some breakfast, and maybe or may not, we'll see you in the Yanmar if I get around to that today. We'll see you guys on the next one.